This is the Horse Radio Network. Episode 2 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show, Poop-Eating Worms and Other Olympic News.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for the Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
I am Glenn the Geek.
And I am Helena B. And this is the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network.
Hey, Helena, how about that new theme song? Isn't that pretty spiffy?
I love it. I love it.
I know. That is really cool. And actually, that was done by a friend of mine by the name of Rob. He lives in Pennsylvania, and they're musicians. They have a group called the Rob and Todd Show. Two guys who play a lot of clubs and get hired to do gigs. And I asked him if he would do a theme for us, and I didn't give him any guidance at all, and that's what he came up with.
I just like to hear my name set to music.
I know. It is cool. It's so exciting to have our own theme song. So I think everybody's going to hear that. They'll hear it at the beginning of every show, so they'll know we're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show. I have to listen again to that middle part, something about poop. I don't know if he was picking on us there.
No, that's the best part. Laugh till you poop. Who doesn't do that? Come on.
All right. We have a full show today and so much to cover. Oh, by the way, I will put a link to the Rob and Todd Show. I'll put a link to their MySpace address in the show notes, so anybody that may need them to record any music for them or anything, they'll be happy to do it, and I'll put a link in the show notes.
Cool.
We have a lot to cover today. What are we talking about?
Oh, boy. We've got, we're going to start off with news, and there's a lot of it this week, especially with the Olympics. We have a wonderful discussion, an Olympics discussion, with Jackie Baker of regardinghorses.com. That's a fabulous blog. And, of course, with the showdown in the jumping finals at the Olympics against Canada, we razz our friends to the north a little bit. We spoke with a very nice lady named Sylvia Schneider, who also has an equine podcast that is called, oh my God, I'm going to butcher this, Equinely Inclined.
That's it, equinelyinclined.com.
And some noteworthy events and a whole lot more.
Good. Sounds like we have a full show today. Let's start off like we're going to start off every show with the news. And I have, you know me, I don't go for the traditional stories. I'm a horse husband. I find the weird stuff fascinating. So we're going to open the first news episode of the Stable Scoop Radio Show with manure. Specifically manure at the Olympics. Actually, Jackie did a story on Regarding Horses about how they're handling the manure for the Olympics in Hong Kong. And I just found it kind of fascinating. They have 200 horses, and they spent almost $5 million building a composting plant to deal with the manure for this Olympics and for the Paralympics that's coming up next month.
Oh, my goodness.
They spent $5 million. The Chinese were real serious about making sure everything worked here, but they spent $5 million on a composting plant. Now, you have to understand, 200 horses isn't that many. At the Kentucky Horse Park, they'll have 1,000 over the weekend, on every weekend.
Yeah, but there's going to be a lot of poop.
Yeah, it's still a lot of poop. They said it's 20 to 30 tons a day.
20 to 30 tons a day. But this, I'm guessing that the $5 million were spent more on the technology versus the size.
Well, you know what the technology is? And I had to laugh at this, too, because they're using earthworms from mainland China that basically turn the feces into fertilizer. Ooh. And so that's what they're doing. And then I got to laughing and thinking, didn't they have any earthworms in Hong Kong? Or are they special earthworms? You know, there was just a lot of questions it brought up, all about manure. There's the first story. And I had to laugh, too. I have to read this part of it. It says, in an effort to stage a green Olympics, the process is aimed at eliminating pathogens and containing potentially odorous emissions.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. All right.
So there you go.
I like the earthworms part. I like that, that whole green process, the breaking down of horse poop, but potentially odorous, just to say stinky.
Yes, exactly. And do the earthworms just eat the stink? And
what?
If that's, I just got thinking about that. And I was thinking, Lysol is probably going to be selling earthworms in a can soon, if that's the case.
Somebody's going to come back and hear just that section of this podcast.
I know.
Do earthworms eat the stink?
I just found the whole story funny. So,
but I know what you mean. No, I think the earthworms contribute to the breakdown. The earthworms actually aid in the composting of the material.
Yeah, but eating the stink is funnier.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you're going to transition from that story into safety stirrups.
Okay, well, the Olympics.
I don't know how you're going to do that.
It just runs the gamut. This is what you're going to find in the Far East. Well, actually, anywhere. The news topic that I've got for today is safety stirrups for Olympians. And I am so excited to read this because when I first started riding, a grown-up using safety stirrups was a no-no, or you were kind of looked upon as a sissy. And I'm really glad to see that safety has gone up from the lowest of the low, from the little kids and ponies and beginner adults all the way up to Olympians. In fact, Rodrigo Pessoa and Ludger Beerbaum are among two Olympians who use this new high-tech stirrup. These things are freakishly high-tech, and I wouldn't even know how to pronounce the name, X-Up stirrups. Anyway, they feature an automatic release, which you can get with any kind of stirrup, a peacock stirrup, or they have those new fancy squiggly stirrups and all that stuff. But it's kind of cool that everybody's thinking about safety, not just for the kids and the beginner adults.
And we'll put a link, actually, so they can see, or we'll put a picture on the show notes.
Yep.
So they can. Now, I can't imagine these things are cheap.
No, I mean, come on, anything that's high tech, and as soon as you put the word equestrian in front of it, they're going to jack the price.
I mean, they're really. I had read around €265, which is almost $400.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Herm Sprenger puts out their bow balance stirrups, which are also a safety stirrup because of the design of the actual iron, the metal, and those are 200 and change.
So you know that kind of pricing on a thing like stirrups sends all of us horse husbands just into cold sweats? You do realize that, don't you?
Yes, I do. That's why I don't tell my husband anything about it.
That's right.
But you don't have to spend $200 or $400 to have a safe stirrup.
Right.
Right.
And I think it is kind of neat that safety has become. You see the Olympics now, and they're wearing their helmets, and the straps are actually strapped.
Yes.
It is different. Things are changing a little bit, and safety's becoming more of a concern as we go along.
Well, particularly with stirrups, because there's a fair amount of falls and crashes, and while a lot of people will get away without head injuries, it's not uncommon to get a foot hung up in a stirrup.
Right.
That's very easy to have happen. So, and particularly at the levels at which these riders are riding, it would be brainless to not have a safety stirrup. So.
And it's even easier to happen when your horse is too fat. And I saw this the other day. I saw this article, and it's the World Horse Welfare Charity out of England. They did a study, and they went around and they actually weighed 230 horses in the UK, and they found that 81% of them were overweight. Wow. Basically, we're feeding our horses too much. And you've had the same situation where you've gone to farms and you're going, they're feeding this horse way too much. This horse is just too fat. Mm-hmm. And it happens more. I think you find that we always talk about the cases where they repossess horses because people aren't feeding them at all.
Right. When
actually the majority is they're feeding them too much. And it may.
I would like to know which 230 horses they sampled.
Well, that I don't know. I don't know.
This comes from being married to a research analyst. I always want to know who was the control group, which 230 horses, was it a double-blind study?
I don't have all of that information, but obviously this was talking about, but that is why some of the feed companies have come out with diet foods and things like that, because there are a lot of horses out there. And, of course, it's bad for them to be too fat as well as it's bad for them to be too skinny.
That's true.
Because of laminitis and everything else.
It might not have to do all that much with how much they're eating, but more with how little exercise they're getting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I just thought that was an interesting study. And speaking of eating, that brings me to one of my other stories for the day. I had found this interesting facts on the Budweiser Clydesdales.
Oh.
And it was recently put out, and I'm doing a blog post about it, so you'll see it on my blog on stablescoop.com. They have 6 hitches that travel around the country now, and they actually were started, I didn't realize, in 1933.
A hitch is what? Like a unit of horse and...
6 horses in each hitch.
Okay.
So each hitch has 6 horses, and there's 5 traveling hitches that go around with the big wagon and the dog and everything. And they actually have to be a gelding, at least 4 years of age, and they must be 18 hands. That's part of the qualification. They also must have 4 white stockings, a white blaze on the face, and a black mane and tail. Those are the only ones that qualify for the hitches. And they breed all their own, so there's a lot of them that don't quite make it, and they all weigh about a ton. They eat, gets into the eating part. They each consume 25 quarts of whole grains a day. Wow. 50 to 60 pounds of hay, so that's a bale of hay a day, and 30 gallons of water.
Yeah.
So 20 to 25 quarts of grain a day.
So what do they do with the Clydesdales who don't come out looking like the standards?
That's a good question. I don't know if they sell them off. Maybe one of our listeners could write us at geeks at thehorseradionetwork.com and let us know what they do. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I don't know. They actually have 3 tractor trailers, and anybody that's seen the Clydesdales has seen the tractor trailers. But with each hitch that's going around the country, they have 3 50-foot tractor trailers, some for the horses and some for the equipment, and they're all equipped with cameras in the back to monitor so that the drivers can see the horses. And the other interesting thing is that, and I found this fascinating having driven horses before, and for all of you out there that have, the reins weigh 40 pounds.
Oh, goodness.
And with the tension on the reins, it's equal to 75 pounds.
Oh, goodness.
So it's like you're holding 75 pounds in your hand driving these horses.
I know horses can go up to 2,300 pounds apiece. So,
right.
That's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of horse. It was funny because I help out at the horse park over here in the draft barn, so I help harness up the horses, and each harness can weigh as much as 130 pounds. So that's just the harness on the horse. I mean, it's just incredible when you put that much horse together, 6 of them. It's amazing what you have to deal with.
Yeah. And I mean, their sheer presence is impressive, and you can, everything that goes into it, the weight of the horses, the care of the horses, the size of their harnesses, their tack, their shoes, everything that goes into them, all of that is wrapped up into this one thing, this one image that you see and you feel.
Right.
Its enormity. You feel it. It's not something that you forget. Yeah.
You do feel it coming.
Imagine what it's like for one of those guys to step on your foot.
Right. Yes, I have had that happen because I own Percherons, and I have had that happen, and you know it for a couple days. It's not one of those things that goes away quickly.
Yeah, and they're not the quickest moving things, so they kind of step and spin, and they look around like they don't know you're on their foot.
Right. Well, I think that people have been waiting, and we've been putting it off. We probably should. There's a lot of other news, but the biggest news right now, of course, is the Olympics. Yes. And I think that we should talk a little bit about the Olympics today. We did pretty well in some areas. The United States did, and in other areas, not so well this year. But in eventing, the Germans took the eventing team, and they took the eventing gold and individual. They did a good job there. The Australians actually came in silver in eventing, with Great Britain coming in 3rd. We actually came in 7th. Amy Tryon fell off actually during cross country, so that didn't help us. I felt bad for Amy. She was really upset,
but she's not hurt.
No, she wasn't hurt, and the horse was okay too. So that was all good. As a matter of fact, I didn't hear anything about any injuries that caused problems with the horse or the riders at this show. It's turned out to be a very clean show. I have to say that the coverage on NBC has been great.
Yes.
It has been wonderful. They're not doing so many of those vignettes like they did in the past, where all you saw was a vignette and then they didn't show you the sport.
Yep.
They didn't show you the actual competition. Here, it's just been great. They've had so many stations, and of course, if you watch online, it's just wonderful. And I don't know how much you've gotten to watch, but they have done a good job. And actually, I got to say, the Chinese have come through too here with a beautiful venue and everything just running smoothly.
I've gotten to see most of the coverage online through the NBCOlympics.com. I would either watch it live streaming, or if I missed it, I'd download the video, which was fabulous. Because it was hard sometimes with the programming. It was hard for me to catch an event live. So it was nice to have the video available almost immediately after to download.
Right, and you didn't have to listen to the commentary.
I saw the cross country. I saw the Australians go cross country, and the course was formerly or is part of a golf course.
Right, exactly. It's every horse rider's dream to ride on a golf course.
God, yeah. It was fabulous. And I have to say, there was, I don't know what fence it was, but it was, I want to call it a tabletop, but for those of you diehard eventers out there, you can correct me. There were two wooden pandas.
Yes.
Right? Just sitting right inside the bushes there.
Yep.
Bright white and black. And the fence was around a curve. And I'll tell you what, there is no horse that I know in my entire lifetime that wouldn't come around that corner, take that jump, and completely spaz out.
Yeah, they did have some tricky elements, yet I think that they were pretty fair this year. Although you did see a lot of people with penalties on cross country, too. So I think they're figuring it out. I think the designs are getting a little safer and a little better that way. And, of course, we have to send our kudos out to Gina Miles, who did a silver in individual.
Congratulations, Gina.
Yeah, it was her first Olympics, and she took away a silver, and she was thrilled.
And she co-owns her horse, McKinley.
Yes.
Right? Which is nice to see a rider who's invested in her animal. Yeah,
she actually co-owns it with Thomas Schultz and Laura Coates. So yeah, she partly owns it. It's one of her animals, and she's done a great job. Actually, she was interviewed also on the Talking Equine Show, our previous podcast.
Yep.
So we're going to try and get her back here. She's going to be kind of busy, I think, for a couple of weeks, but we're going to try and get her back over the next couple of weeks and have her on the show.
You know what I find really interesting about Gina Miles is that at 34 years old, she's the youngest competitor on the U.S. Olympic eventing team, which is fabulous because, gymnastics and diving and a lot of the other sports, they're kids we're talking about, 16, 18, 24-year-olds. For 34 to be the youngest competitor, I think is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that is neat, and you don't see that anywhere else because I'll tell you what, when you watch the gymnasts, they don't even look like they're 16. I mean, these look like little kids.
Yeah.
And when you hear them talk, they talk like little kids.
Yeah.
It is interesting. But then dressage.
Very interesting. At one point I remember thinking that watching dressage was a little bit like watching paint dry. Until you really know what you're looking at.
I know. I still have to agree with that a little bit. Being a horse husband, I can't admit that I actually like dressage. But I did watch it.
You can appreciate the effort that goes into the level of training that's required to do what they're doing
definitely.
at this level. But it's pretty cool, like even for the non-horse person, to watch dressage to music.
Yes, I did like that. I did like the freestyle. Yep.
Yeah, and Stefan Peters, I thought, did a great job. It's unfortunate he was out of the medal running. But I love.
And what else is unfortunate with him is right on the TV coverage on Oxygen when they had the freestyle, they showed him and went to commercial in his ride and came back and he was done. So on TV you didn't get to see the whole thing, so we had to go back and watch it on the internet.
That's where I watched it.
Yeah.
And I thought he actually did better than how he placed.
Right.
But then when you go and watch Anki, man, oh man, that was just seamless.
Yeah, she was beautiful. It was just incredible to watch. It's a step above with Salerno.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. It was a step above, and it was clear. It's. But, that's the Olympics. It's not totally objective.
And it was dominated by the Germans, Netherlands, and Denmark, all in the same part of the world. They had gold, silver, and bronze in the team. And then the Germans, of course, took the gold as well. So in the individual.
Yep.
And Isabel Worth was second, and she had silver, and then Heinke Kemmer had the bronze,
right.
in the individual. So, and then we had the fourth, and actually we took fourth in the dressage team too. So we were fourth in the team and actually fourth in the individual. So we weren't too far off this year. 4 years, we'll be back.
Right. However, show jumping is a whole different story.
Yeah, show jumping was great. We have to congratulate the United States team for taking the gold in show jumping in a jump-off. At the very end, it was very exciting.
And we beat our friends to the north.
Yes, and actually we're going to have one of those friends to the north on the show here in a little bit to talk about Ian Miller, which is, he's a true legend in the sport of show jumping. We'll talk a little bit with Sylvia today about Ian Miller and what he did for the Canadians. But first, the United States team made up of McLean Ward, Laura Kraut, Will Simpson, and BZ Madden came through and had wonderful jump off, and it didn't even go to the end because we ended up winning it with one rider left, I think.
Man.
So it was a great thing. It was almost perfect that it was against the Canadians, and it's great for them because they really haven't done too much in Equestrian Olympics either.
No, so it's been a long time since they've placed this high in show jumping.
So we're very proud of all of them. They did a great job. It was fun to watch, and the courses were beautiful. The jumps were impressive. It was just well done. It was well done overall.
Yeah, you have to give the Chinese credit for creating a wonderful venue. The courses were good. I mean, even the arena for dressage, I think they did. I mean, from what I could see on my computer screen, it's not like I was there, but it looked like they really did a nice job with the venues.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and while we're talking about the Olympics, somebody that had the best coverage ever, and she's our blog of the week, was Jackie Baker from regardinghorses.com. She covered the Olympics as a blogger almost better than the big sites did, than the equine.coms and the Equisearches did. She had it laid out so nicely, and I encourage everybody to go to regardinghorses.com. We'll have a link in our show notes on stablescoop.com. She did a great job covering it. She broke it out by the day. She put her own commentary in there. And let's get her on right now. Hi, Jackie. You have done such a great job with Regarding Horses as far as Olympics covers. There's no other place in the equestrian world that has covered it so well. You've done better than the big sites.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to hear that that's gotten out there. That was kind of the idea. Back in about mid-June, I went looking for some information just on the Olympics to write up, maybe a post or two about it, and discovered that it was very difficult to find, and none of the major horsey websites were covering the Olympics yet. So I decided, well, if they're not going to, I am. So I started going out and digging up all of the information that I could and writing general information about the three disciplines that are included and rider profiles and news and posting the U.S. equestrian teams when they were announced and just covering all that information ahead of time because I noticed that nobody else was doing it. And they all started, a week or two before the Olympics, but because I'd already been doing it for over a month, I already had more information and better visibility and people who were coming and reading regularly.
I loved how you broke it out. You did it by the day. I mean, it was just so easy to follow with the way you did it. You obviously took some time doing this.
That was a favorite of mine, too, the way you had it in sort of chronological order, so that those of us with very limited time could just log right onto your blog and go right to the day that was relevant at the time.
As far as the results?
Or just what was going on, day 10 versus day 8 and day 11. Mm-hmm. You could kind of pluck your little spot in time and see what Regarding Horses had to say about it.
Yeah, that was a nice way to do it because, a lot of the other places you can just go find final results and here's where everybody ended up. But if you weren't able to watch or, didn't have access to the TV or the online channels, you could go and see what happened each day of the competition and how it progressed from day to day, which is really interesting to see who's leading one day and who's leading the next day and how the different teams are doing throughout the competition.
Right. It's like attending it virtually versus, like you said, going and looking up just results or snippets of information. This is more like attending the event.
Exactly.
And you did a great job, too. You added your own commentary, and you obviously took some time to write all of that. And blogging takes time. People don't realize how much time it does take.
Yes, it definitely does. I would sit there and I'd have the videos playing on half of my screen because I watched almost everything live, and I keep a Word document up, right next to it, and just keep taking notes as people were going, just, things that I noticed and things I was thinking as they were competing. And then as the video was over, I could go back and type it up into a coherent blog post and put up the results for the day.
Did you find yourself getting sidetracked and getting really involved in the streams or the videos and forget to take notes?
I did sometimes. I didn't take really copious notes. There's probably more I could have done with it, and I didn't necessarily get to watch every single rider and every single event, but I made a point of watching all of the ones I knew were top riders or who were coming in at the top of the standings. But it was, especially during that last day of dressage, it was hard to take notes because it was so much fun watching the freestyles, and I didn't want to miss what was going to happen next.
Absolutely.
Well, were you a veteran blogger before this, or is this all just a great big experiment?
Regarding horses is the first blog of this type that I've run. It's almost a year old. So it's my first blogging experience, but I have a pretty strong writing, research, journalistic kind of background. So it was just kind of moving those to a different medium.
Yeah, you can tell in your writing that you've written before.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's engaging. It's great. It's to the point.
She's probably waiting for the other shoe to drop. We've been doing nothing but complimenting her for 5 minutes now.
Well, that's our job, Glenn. That's what we hopefully want to get paid for someday.
Yeah, encouraging us. Keep me going.
Obviously, you've been doing this for a year. Was this your biggest hit as far as the number of viewers?
Oh, definitely. It's been commenting on other blogs and, getting involved in the community and making friends online. And so I had a solid basic readership, and every once in a while I would do a post that would get a lot of search engine traffic. For instance, I did a post about the Budweiser Clydesdale commercials and posted a few videos from YouTube. And for a while I was writing about therapeutic riding, and ABC's Extreme Home Makeover did an episode where they actually did a therapeutic riding center along with a house. And so I wrote about that ahead of time. And so I have a few things like that got a lot. In Kentucky Derby time, and I was maybe seeing 400 visitors on my best days when those were spiking. And I started doing the Olympics, and that started multiplying by 10s and 20s and just going up incredibly. So I've gone from maybe having 150 people visiting a day and 30 subscribers to, at my highest, nearly 8,000, and I've been averaging between 3,000 and 4,000 people a day on my blog since the Olympics started.
Wow.
Oh, congratulations. That's
fabulous.
It is. It's exciting, and it's fun, too, because it's not just people in the U.S. where I'm based. I've got people coming from countries all over. I've had people commenting from Afghanistan and Australia and New Zealand and Denmark and all kinds of places all over the world, which is really exciting, the way that the Olympics has been able to bring horse people from all over together in one place.
Now, do you, have a real job, too, right?
Oh, yeah. This is all on the side.
What do you do?
I am actually an internet marketing consultant. So the kinds of things that I'm doing on here, it is. I actually do on my job. Part of my job was starting a blog just to get some practice, and so that's one of the reasons I originally started, but it's something I wanted to do anyway. So it's been great practice for me in my professional life, too, to run this blog, because I've seen how the optimization and the networking and the social media and link building and all of those different things that I do in my job, I've gotten the kind of practice and see how it can work on here.
You want to put a plug in for your job?
Sure. My company is called SiteLogicMarketing.com, SITE. And we do consulting, and primarily for organic search, which is all of your natural search results, none of the paid stuff. And
so you're doing search engine optimization type work?
Yes.
Okay.
We focus on natural search. We don't do any pay-per-click advertising, but we do usability is a big area, the search engine optimization, and the analytics, where we're looking at the stats and figuring out what's happening and why on websites are a few of our main areas. But we can also do social media campaigns, and we do a lot of blog coaching and a lot of training.
That sounds like fun. So you're a geek, too.
A little bit. I'm more marketing than geek, but because I spend my life on the computer, I've learned to be a little bit of a geek.
Yeah, well, you're a blogger. You're a geek now.
She probably has a lot of geek friends.
That's true.
You can't bring a blog to the internet that's this smooth without having some serious geek friends.
All right, we'll be lucky if we have any listeners. We have 3 horse geeks sitting here talking right now. I think everybody just tuned out.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Horse geeks are a market. They're not going to tune out.
No.
Well, we appreciate you being on. Again, it's Regarding Horses, just like it sounds. It's spelled just like it sounds. And we'll have it in our show notes that they can find a link there to your website at regardinghorses.com. And you're also, we have a list of blogs on the website. You'll find a complete blog list, and you're listed in there as well. And we also have a page where we're showing the blogs of the week. So you are our blog of the week, and we'll have a little highlight in there about you for this week. So you'll be found many places on our website where they can get to you.
Well, great. Thank you so much.
All right, Jackie, we'll talk to you again soon, and thanks for being on.
All right, sounds good.
We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our friends at Easy Signs Online for sponsoring the show. You can get all of your farm or business signs there. They have large ones, small ones, fancy ones, simple ones, so your big entrance signs at the end of your lane at the farm, or your tack room sign, whatever you want, banners and post banners and entrance signs, magnetic vehicle signs, outdoor signs. They have them all. What's really cool about Easy Signs Online is you can order right there on the website. It's all automated. It's very nice. You don't have to fret about it. It's just right there. You just put in what you want. They custom design each sign for you, send you back the proofs so you can see them. You know exactly what you're getting. So whether you're looking for a sign for your farm, your ranch, your business, or your home, check out easysignsonline.com or visit their website today, or call them toll-free at 1-800-640-8180 for more information. And please note that there's currently a 10% off sale on certain select style of signs, so check them out. It was nice of Jackie to stop by with us today and pay us a visit. I know she's busy doing all her Olympic coverage on Regarding Horses, so it was nice of her to stop by and do that.
Yeah, great blog.
And I heard you had some fun last weekend. What were you up to?
Oh, I was horse shopping in Pennsylvania, your neck of the your hometown neck of the woods.
Did your husband know you were horse shopping?
No, I told him I was going on a book club adventure. That seems to work. Yes, he did know.
He doesn't listen to these shows, does he?
No, he knows. Okay, he's too smart. He knows not to.
That's a good thing.
His blood pressure is nice and low. He doesn't need to tune in. Yeah, and unfortunately, my 15-year-old quarter horse partner Zeke has to be retired from riding, so he's got an elbow injury. So I'm keeping my eyes open for something that's fun and wise and sane. And I went down to Pennsylvania to a couple of places, one of which is Watts Horses, and they're in Denver, Pennsylvania. Really nice husband and wife team that work with camp horses and lesson horses and all kinds of good old, sane, sweet horses who've been there and done that. One of the friends that I was traveling with was looking for an experienced eventer, and that brought us to a fellow by the name of Vince Dugan's stable.
Oh, yeah, he's down in Unionville.
Yeah, oh my gosh, Unionville is gorgeous.
Yes, it is beautiful.
Oh, I'm in love. Every time I saw a for sale sign, I thought, I got to buy this farm.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unionville's always also very expensive.
Oh, well, I can see why. So we got to meet and talk with Vince Dugan personally, who is definitely an old-time character. He is so knowledgeable about horses. He is not as young as me, I'll put it that way. But, man, this guy can ride circles around a lot of the jumpers, 100-jumper riders I've seen.
Yeah, he's sort of a legend.
Wow. Knows his stuff. Yeah. He was talking about telling jokes and talking about horses and riders and some of his old competition days. And he was talking about he'd say Bart this and George that, and he's talking about Denemothy and Morris and Joe Fargus. I mean, these were his peers, and I definitely felt like I was in the company of greatness. And a really, really nice guy. Just that he and his wife Janice were so friendly and so accommodating.
Well, they live right down the street, don't they, from New Bolton, the horse hospital?
Yep, right down the street. In
where
fact,
Barbara was.
There's a really interesting story because they had this really sweet orange tabby cat who, barn cat, sweet guy. And Vince was telling us that one day the cat had crossed the road and was unlucky enough to get hit by a car. And the doctor, the surgeon, Barbaro's surgeon, had taken the cat and reconstructed his hips to save his life. The choice was put the cat down or let's do some serious surgery. So
I didn't know they did cats.
I don't think that they typically do. But
for Vince, they're going to do a cat.
So Barbaro's surgeon, his doctor, actually put back together this orange
Vince
cat.
Dugan's cat.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of petting and enjoying some sunshine with this kitty, and he seemed better than new.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had fun, and I'm noticing here that we have our friend from the north on the line, so let's say hi. Hi, Sylvia. How are things in the Great White North?
Hi, Glenn. It's nice to hear from you. Things are going very well. We're just finishing a really, really hot spell, and I'm glad that the heat's subsiding.
So what's hot for you guys?
Well, 34 degrees Celsius. Now, what is that? I'm going to have to try and
It's going to be in the
figure that one
70s or 80s here, I think.
Don't make me do math.
What's that?
I think it's in the 70s or 80s here then. But that is warm for you guys.
It is. It's very warm.
And you're where exactly?
We're in Alberta, which is one province away from BC. So BC is our lovely West Coast destination province.
And you're right at the mountains then.
Well, definitely yes. The mountains. Calgary is close to the mountains, very close to the mountains, and we're north of Calgary by about 3 hours. So.
Tell me you've been to the Calgary Stampede.
You know what? I have never been to.
Is
Calgary.
that right?
The horror.
That has been my dream. That's one of the lifelong dreams I have is to go to the Calgary Stampede.
Yeah, maybe I should make it my lifelong dream, too.
Can you tell a city girl from New York what the Calgary Stampede is?
The Calgary Stampede is very much Western. It's very much the roots of what the Wild West was, when, everything was first populated out here. And so they have all kinds of Western rodeo type things. They've got barrel racing, and they've got bronking buck riding.
And chuck wagon racing.
They've got chuck wagon racing, yes. That's a very big deal.
And jumping mules.
The jumping mules was part of Spruce Meadows, which isn't really connected to the Stampede, but they did have the mules down at the Stampede, and they were just kind of touring around and trying to increase everybody's knowledge of mules and how fascinating they are and how versatile they are.
Well, that's great. Mm-hmm. And actually, one of the two big reasons we called you was, one, to talk a little bit about your podcast, which you've been doing for quite a while up there in Canada, and also to razz you a little bit about the show jumping the other night at the Olympics, where we went into a jump-off with Canada, and we ended up squeaking it out. And it was partly because you only had 3 riders left at that point, and you were at a little bit of a disadvantage in the jump-off.
Wouldn't that have been interesting to see how things might have panned out, eh?
Yes, it would have been. But you had the story of the equestrian in the Olympics, I think, in Ian Miller.
Yeah, Ian Miller, he's been to 9 Olympics, and he finally realized his dream, and he came away with some hardware, so that was really good.
Now, he's something of a national hero out there. Doesn't he have a unique nickname?
Well, we call him Captain Canada. And so if ever you're watching any of the big events that happen at Spruce Meadows, you'll hear them announce him coming into the ring, and now we're going to see from Captain Canada. So he is somewhat of a hero in the equestrian world for sure.
And he's got the wisdom of a few years behind him, doesn't he?
And sometimes that's all you need. If you've got a good horse and you still have your physical ability, and you've got that knowledge of having been through all of those all of those rounds of riding, and you know what can happen, and you know the best things to do, and it's really wonderful watching him ride.
And he's 61, I think they said.
Oh, he's 61. Yes, he
Yep.
is. Yeah,
Yep.
he's 61.
Yep.
And
I was trying to be diplomatic, Len, and say
I know,
that he
I
had the
noticed
wisdom
that.
of years.
I thought I'd just throw it out there.
Thanks.
Did they? He got that nickname, I assume, because he's been captain of so many teams.
I think that he probably has, and his riding goes back to the days of Big Ben. Big Ben was an absolutely amazing horse. He was huge, and they used to just dominate in the equestrian world, the show jumping world at that time. And unfortunately, Big Ben had, I think, one too many colic operations. He did have a problem with colic, and he just didn't make it out of one of them. I think that's what happened in the end. Mm-hmm. And so it's been kind of an interesting journey for Ian Miller to find new horses, and it's always tough for the riders, particularly the Canadian riders, to get new mounts to help carry them through the journey. But he's managed to do it. He's got some good horses now.
And like you said, some hardware too.
We have to congratulate the Canadians. They still have to be thrilled with the silver in the show jumping team. They do have to be thrilled with that, I think.
Oh, heavens, they are. Well, I mean, the last time they finished in fourth place in 1988, and that's the best that they've done. So they're thrilled. Michel Vaillancourt, he won a silver in his hometown of Montreal in 1976, and we're just thrilled to pieces that they did so well. And we knew that they were coming in very, very strongly because they've all been doing very well.
Well, that's great, and I do think that you may have gotten the gold had it not been you were down one rider there.
Yeah. Well, and, the nice thing is that Ian was able to do it with his son and his daughter there. Unfortunately, his wife, Lynn, passed away of cancer, and he did say that he was riding with an angel on his shoulder, and that's what, made him come through with that silver.
Well, it is good that his children were able to be with him.
Yeah, and he hopes to make it in 2012, and he hopes maybe we'll have Team Miller because both his children ride.
Oh, wow. Oh, that'd be
they're
cool.
both jumping as well.
Hey, on a different subject, a little bit off of the Olympics, that's what most of our show has been about today, is you do a podcast also up there. You've been doing it quite a while, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to try and say it, and I always mess it up because you couldn't have picked a harder two words to put together. Equinely Inclined, and I'll put the link to it in the show notes for sure, but it's just equinelyinclined.com.
Yes. Equinelyinclined.com. That will take you to the landing page, and it's actually part of a bigger website that we've been running for a long time too. But Equinely Inclined is the equine podcast for the internet horse community, and we've been doing that since January 2007.
So you've been doing it for quite a while, and you produce it, I noticed, almost weekly.
Bi-weekly is what
okay.
we do, and then we're up to episode 34, but truly we're much further along than that because we do multiple episodes when we go to events. So, for instance, we went to the Red Deer main event April before last, and we podcasted daily episodes.
That sounds like fun. So what do you guys do in your podcast? And I encourage everybody to check it out at equinelyinclined.com.
What we do is we're trying to make sure that people that are new to horse ownership or even, involved in horse ownership have a good understanding of what it involves in owning a horse. Because oftentimes people come into horse ownership and they really don't understand what they're getting themselves into. So we have health tips. We also have news and events that are going on across Canada. We've got interviews with some really highly placed athletes and that sort of thing. One of the things that people might be interested in doing, since we share an athlete who's common to the United States and Canada, even though he was on the Canadian team, is Matt Cohn. And we did an interview with him in episode 7, which was quite some time ago. And it's kind of a getting to know Matt Cohn. And he actually came from Tennessee.
Oh, he's down in my neck of the woods. Well, I'll definitely link to that on the show notes so people can go directly there and download and take a listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that would be great.
You guys do a good job. You cover the news, and then you do some interesting things like one of the last episodes you were doing fence building, and you definitely I can tell, try and cater to the market that you're in and the horse owners and what they deal with on an everyday basis.
Yeah, well, that's what we try to do, just educate people. And, we were aiming at people who are new to the horse industry, but then we've had a lot of people who've been involved with the horse industry for quite a while, and they come up and say, man, that was such a good topic. I didn't know that, and so we feel really good that we're helping.
That's great.
Yes, very informative, very down-to-earth, informative episodes, but it doesn't feel, it's not intimidating to listen to.
No,
Some of these informative websites they kind of boggle your brain with too much information. You've got nice, easy to swallow topics that apply to even the smallest backyard barn owner.
That's something, by the way, we've never been accused of is boggling anybody's brain on this show. That's
just our own.
Well, that's very kind of you. That's what we're trying to do, and so we're glad to hear that we're achieving that.
Well, this is great. I encourage everybody to go over to Equinely Inclined and take a listen to the show. Again, congratulations on a silver medal. And we'll look forward to talking to you again. The next time we're head-to-head, we'll be sure to call you. Even if we lose, we'll call you.
That would be fun. And, you guys should really try and get up to Spruce Meadows. The Masters is going to be on in September, the first week of September, and it's just amazing. You'll see all those athletes there, the Americans, the Canadians, the dressage people. Oftentimes, Ankie van Grunsven, who has just won the gold individual medal,
right?
She often does demonstration rides there, and it's just wonderful to see.
Wow.
I see a road trip in our future, Glenn.
Yeah, and you know what?
Great.
We're going to make a deal that we're going to meet you and your kids at the Calgary Stampede next year, and we'll both go for the first time.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks, Sylvia. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, that was great talking with Sylvia in Canada.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to her again. She was fun. Listen for next week as we highlight our stable of the week, and we do a 2010 WEG report, or World Equestrian Games report. I also posted a blog this week showing the construction from the World Equestrian Games. You can see it at Glenn's blogs at stablescoop.com, and Helena has posted another blog or two, so take a look at our blog entries if you'd like. Also, you'll see all of our show notes at stablescoop.com. Just click on the individual shows right there in the middle of the page, and you'll go to our show notes. We also encourage you to call and give us feedback. We want to hear from you. Give us a voicemail. You can call 270-803-0025. That's 270-803-0025. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on next week's show. We'd love to hear from you. Please call us, or you can email us at geeks, Geeks, at horseradionetwork.com. That's geeks at horseradionetwork.com. So the shows are posted every Friday. Subscribe through iTunes. Hit that iTunes button. If you don't have iTunes, stop back to the website every Friday and listen. We love to have you on board, and we love to get your feedback. And we'll see you again next week, Helena.
Absolutely, with the scoop.
All right. Bye-bye.